in the world in which we live, there must be a new drugstore coming to every corner. I can't believe it. They're putting them up faster than service stations, just everywhere. Drugstores, pharmacies, out the kazoo. And it is a billion dollar industry. We're talking about just the prescriptions alone. If you were to open a pharmacy today, you'd have to stock at least 1,000 different prescribed prescription drugs commonly used just to meet the demand of the people coming in and out of the door. So we are in America very pharmaceutical. We are in America very, very much into prescription drugs. But when you lay it all out, we're still one of the sickest countries in the world, so it's not like we're doing anything for health care. But if every $1 that's spent on health care, I'm talking about root cause analysis, getting down to the bottom line, then every $1 we spend on trying, we're actually spending $10 on disease management. And when the government talks about health care reform, they're not talking about health care at all. They're talking about disease management, and there's a big difference in it. So the uh-oh is in this. The uh-oh of life is that we have overlooked the major goal in healing. And if we don't get to the root cause, if we don't go down and actually remove the obstacles that are standing in the way of the cure, we're not going to see these people get any better. But here's the example tonight: nutritional deficiencies caused by prescription drugs. Hey, and it's well been said that if your diet is causing your disease, then for goodness gracious, diet and nutrition can prevent disease. So let's move on. The slides tonight are prescription drugs, and we could add a lot of over-the-counter stuff, but we're talking about the prescription drugs. These are called heartburn pills. People who have acid indigestion, GERD, reflux, they go to the doctor, they get the purple pill or the pink and brown pill, from Prilosec to Prevacid to Nexium to Axid. And even the H2 antagonists, those antihistamine tablets like Zantac and Pepcid and Tagamet, they all deplete the body of B number 12, folic acid, vitamin D, zinc, and calcium. Now, your body cannot stand losing B12, folic acid, and vitamin D, zinc, and calcium, because what happens now, we can't absorb and assimilate oxygen and hemoglobin and iron, so people become very anemic when they're taking heartburn pills, and they become much tireder. They're just weaker, and because we are losing folic acid and losing the essential nutrition for heart health, we always have an increased risk of cardiovascular risk. And anytime you take B12 out of the system, the brain doesn't think as fast or as functionable, and therefore senile dementia, those kind of things, that just the mental fatigue, the fog. People need B12, folic acid every day. And if you don't have good vitamin D, your immune system is shot. And people without the whole gamut of folic acid and all the good stuff, they're more prone to depression, hair loss, insomnia. So you know what? If you're into it, heartburn pills, bless you. But don't forget, there's a little bitty bottle called B number 12. Please put it under your tongue every day. Replenish the B12, the folic acid. Please do that. And then when you take Aloe Red and you take OPC, just a gentle dose a day will give you back the vitamin D, the zinc, and the calcium. The next chart is cholesterol pills, and whoopee-doo, we've heard more about Crestor, Lipitor, Mevacor, Zocor. Those are called statin drugs. Now, originally, statin drugs came to the market as antifungals. They were originally used to treat thrush in the mouth and fungus on the toes. The most popular statin drug on the market is called nystatin. But the pharmaceutical industry figured out ways to tweak it and bend it and make it So out comes these antifungal drugs, and instead of calling them antifungals, we said, let's call it a cholesterol drug, and it's more profitable and more money manageable. But the big thing is that every one of these statin drugs drastically reduce the body of coenzyme Q10 and B6 and B12 and folic acid. And when they diminish, blood pressure goes up, congestive heart failure becomes on the radar screen, energy becomes absolutely low, the brain becomes very foggy, and look, when you don't have sufficient Q10 and folic acid operations, you are much more prone to cancer. You are much more prone to gingivitis and other gum problems, and literally without proper B6, B12, and folic acid, your liver cannot go into phase 2 detox, so we're much, much more prone to higher liver enzymes showing us that our liver is poisoned. So what are we going to do? We're going to get out that little bottle of B12 sublingual, and please use it every day. And we're going to take OPC and Aloe Red every day because we're replenishing the B6, B12, folic acid. Now, there's no Q10 in the lineup of the Xperia products yet, but, you know, there are some good Q10 products out there. And, you know, if you're going to take Q10, there's a big difference between ubiquinone, that Q10 that's sold over there in Walmart and Sam's, and ubiquinol. Ubiquinol, it ends in an N-O-L. Ubiquinol is the one that fixes the offset of cholesterol drugs. So don't just run out and buy a Q10 because you could be wasting your money again. The next slide is hormone replacement pills, and goodness gracious, what do we know about Premarin and Estratab and Menest and all? You know, when Premarin first came to the market, it's made from horse wee-wee, and I've always said that women were never made by God to swallow any fashion, shape, or form of horse wee-wee. But the equivalent, that which is formed in these synthetic hormone treatments, they do drastically deplete the body of B6, magnesium, and zinc. And whenever a lady is down on B6, she's going to swell a whole lot more, retain fluid a whole lot more, and the mental attitude begins to diminish because the disposition, it goes from sweet to more aggressive. And B6 deficiency will make a woman mad, but when you give B6 back to the woman, their hormones are more balanced and their disposition is much better. B6 controls everything in the brain, controlling depression and sleep patterns, because you can't have a good alpha nor a beta rhythm in the sleep pattern without B6. So it's very important that we look at that. And by the way, we have found that because of the diminishing B6 and magnesium combination, these people are much more prone to kidney stones. But what really amazed us was that B6 and magnesium deficiencies precipitate stronger attacks of asthma. And people that have bronchitis, they just show up having a lot of difficulty. And anytime you get low on zinc, you're going to lose the greater ability of taste and smell, and the body just gets pooped too quick. The next thing on the slide is thyroid medication, and Synthroid has taken over the world in thyroid. People have T3, T4, TSH tests done all the time, and levothyroxine, the Synthroid, is very, very commonly prescribed. But it does deplete the body of calcium, and it can absolutely interfere with the iron load and the iron upload. So when that happens, these people that are on Synthroid, you are very cautious because you're much more prone to bone density weakness and much, much prone to being tired and fatigued. And there we go back to how we're going to find the proper calcium, how we're going to find the right amount of iron. Well, the product is called OPC and Aloe Red. You put those two together, you replenish what your Synthroid is depleting your body of. Next on the lineup is that very common pill, the oral contraceptive, the birth control pill. Goodness gracious, it's now the 7th largest prescription drug by volume. 100 million prescriptions a month. 100 million prescriptions a month are being prescribed and delivered. And what happens is, in the overflow, is that the folic acid, B6, B1, B2, B3, B12, magnesium, selenium, zinc, all of those go out. By the way, B1 deficiency is what levels people out, and people will be much more docile and sweeter with B1 because B1 and B6 talk to one another. B number 2 controls headaches. B number 2 controls if you don't have B2, you're going to feel like you got grit in your eye. B3 controls flexibility. If you don't have B3, when you squat, you're going to creak, and when you get up, you're going to ache. B number 12 is energy and memory. Magnesium is 300 enzymes of the body, particularly the energy cycle, the kidney, the liver, the heart, the blood pressure. The selenium controls the immune system. And if you get all those things out of whack, blood sugars become more disruptive, kidney stones, headaches become more prevalent. So it's very important that people on birth control pills use our B12 sublingual and use OPC and aloe red every day. Next on the list is the blood pressure pills, and I think every one of us knows somebody who's on a blood pressure pill. And these rascals, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about an ACE inhibitor, a calcium channel blocker, an alpha-adrenergic drug. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about Prenavil or Tenormin. We're talking about depletion of B6 and magnesium. Therefore, the muscles are much more prone to cramping, and the body is much more prone to forming a kidney stone and a headache. And when you lose zinc, you lose your ability to form a proper utilization of the immune response. So just going in there, isn't it kind of ironic that we give blood pressure pills for blood pressure, but if we don't correct the nutritional depletion, we are setting these people up for cardiac problems, particularly in the contractibility, the cardiac output, and the ability of the heart to exchange oxygen, and the ability of the heart to not get into irregular rhythms, and the ability of the heart to not form a blood clot. So it's very important for people that are on blood pressure pills to please use a good nutrition, OPC and aloe red, to replenish your B6, your magnesium, your zinc, your folic acid, and your B number 1. Next on the list is a very popular heart medication. Lanoxin, digoxin, is used to make cardiac output more proficient. But look, it's unbelievable that it forms a channel for losing calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus. And when that does, though lanoxin is for the strength of the heartbeat, we can actually throw the rhythm of the heartbeat out of sync, and we can cause atrial fibrillation and bone density problems and much, much greater fatigue if we don't give these patients calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus every single day that they're on the lanoxin. The next thing on the chart is these dilantins and trileptals and the anticonvulsants that they use for seizures, and these rascals are very powerful in vitamin D deficiency. That means the immune system is shot. This past year, we had 12 children die from the swine flu, but in reality, it was complications of the flu. They died of pneumonia, but when they looked at the underlying factor, all 12 of those children were on dilantin. In other words, we had depleted their vitamin D level so low that anything, a cold, a flu, anything would get in their system and kill them. So it wasn't that the swine flu killed them. It was the vitamin D deficiency caused by the drug that caused the whole scenario to set up. So it's very important for people on trileptal and all the other dilantins and Depakotes, et cetera, to please re-nutritionize the body. shape, fashion, and form, from metformin all the way down to Avandia. But these little rascals do very quickly deplete your Q10 ratio. And remember, there's two kinds of Q10. The bad one that you don't really need is ubiquinone, and the good one that you really need is ubiquinol. But going back to B12 and folic acid, that's a sublingual tablet that'll stop a lot of problems, because you can literally stop the loss of energy and regain the concentration and the memory simply by giving a diabetic back these three nutritions. And the OPC, the Aloe Red, and the B12 sublingual are perfect for a diabetic, but you'll have to get the Q10 elsewhere as we go along. Now, the next slide is what we call non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. They're the NSAIDs, and they go all kind of names: Voltaren, ketoprofen, ibuprofen, Motrin. These rascals quickly diminish folic acid. They will rip the body of vitamin C. They're mean on calcium and magnesium and zinc. And isn't it ironic that Motrin actually degenerates the cartilage of the body, so people take it for stiffness and joint discomfort, when in actuality we're causing more bone and skeletal problems with the drug than we would without the drug. So going back to replenishing that particular OPC and Aloe Red scenario really can do a lot of good, and the aloe itself has a powerful protective ability on ulcerations. Next slide up is antibiotics, and they're all the way from penicillin to Cipro to the Cleocins, right on down to the erythromycins, and they play great havoc on the B-complex vitamins. Anytime you're down on B-complex, particularly biotin, you're going to find that the body is much more prone to just feeling lousy, and the blood sugars get out of whack, and mood swings can come about. And we've seen a lot of hair loss and kidney stone formation and all that kind of stuff just because of an antibiotic therapy. So a good thing to do is Aloe Red, OPC, and then you play havoc on the antibiotic, because the antibiotic will work better in the flavor of OPC and Aloe Red. It just makes things come back to factor. And then, of course, what about the standard American lifestyle? Yeah, people have drugs out the kazoo. Alcohol's a drug. Tobacco's a drug. All those additives they put in our food products that come out of a box or a package, those are drugs. And if you talk about the heavy metals like lead, aluminum, and mercury, and gold, add the scenario of carbon monoxide, and bring in the farmers, pesticide, herbicide, fertilizer, throw out all the plastics that are out there, and my goodness, we are in a pickle. We're in a pickle. And a good wholesome diet, I don't care how good you eat. I don't care if you're all fruits and vegetables. I don't care if you're eating nothing but organic. A good wholesome diet in today's world, because of everything that's against us, from the additives to the metals to the monoxides, we cannot offset the negatives with just good eating. It takes good nutrition. So a word to the wise, you know what? Prescription medications, they're doing their very best. Stay on them. Do not jump away from them. Just be sure to replenish. And the fact is that what drugs, they're chemical alien molecules that the chemist decides they try to mimic. They try to match the natural structure that God built into creation. But it's always doomed to some kind of isolated failure or some kind of more precipitous side effects, simply because it would be like trying to put a Mercedes car part in a Ford Fusion. They're not made for one another. They got to be identical. So the best place to get the part is in God's natural pharmacy, and I guarantee you that the herb is for the replenishment and for the service of man. We are in a world of potent drugs, and they all come with potent doses, and they can cause a lot of avoidable side effects if we can just do what we call prevention. An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. We're living in a world today where every everybody I know is on some kind of a prescription drug of some sort. But we have found, yes, sir, we have found that if we will just replenish what the drug is taking out, things just seem to get better.
Dr. Rouse, thank you for putting your email and your phone number up there. I know we have people that are on the phone line. I need to give them that, which, Doctor, if you have a question for Dr. Rouse, let's say you're taking a pharmaceutical drug that you're not sure of or that Dr. Rouse did not cover, make sure you email him or even call his store. His email is Rouse, R-O-U-S-E, J-R-C, Rouse, J-R-C, at bellsouth.net. And his phone number, he put up here, is 229-436-0100.